Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back to another movie review for Halloween month. And, well, you know, it's just, well, I know a lot of people hate this film to death. It's like the worst movie that came out this year. It's one of the worst superhero movies of all time. And people are very are so mad about this movie, and you know what? I understand. I fully understand why the film gets so much hate. I fully understand that. Now, I will say it as I don't like the movie. I don't. Because on my personal, it's another very shitty Marvel movie. Granted, it's not the MCU Marvel movie, but from the Sony universe, right? I still don't like the movie, but thing is though, I don't like it. But thing is though, I was never mad about the movie. I wasn't. I did see this. I did see this in the theater. Because Jared Leto, okay, yeah, this is because you already know the title anyway, so I don't need to go and say, oh, this is the movie, right? I mean, I like Jared Leto, but there's films I liked him in. So Jared Leto, he was not the problem. I thought he was doing the best he can. People said they hated his performance in this. I beg to differ on that one, though. To me, I liked him. I liked him in Blade Runner 2049. I liked him in Dallas Buyers Club with Matthew McConaughey. Like he was in drag, right? And he won an Oscar for that role. But the thing is, though, he was a very shitty Joker in the DC universe. He was a shitty Joker in Suicide Squad. And plus, and that Zack Snyder cut, of Justice League, where they added him in there at the end, right after, like, the whole apocalypse is begun, and he's there talking to Batman. That didn't make a difference. I didn't like that Zack Snyder cut anyway of Justice League, and just him, he's in there. So what, Oh, and it was especially with a dumb joke. It was like, talking to Batman. It's like, giving what was the whole thing about giving him the reach around, whatever. I'm like, what? And I would say yes. I would say this. He was a shitty Joker. He's like the worst portrayal of Joker because all the other portrayals of Joker were good, like Joaquin Phoenix, Jack Nicholson, and Heath Ledger, right? So yeah, he's by far the worst Joker. And I'll probably say people can get mad at me though, but the thing is though, I rather watch his performance. It was rather better here than the Joker, and he played in Joker. I'll say that though, because he was doing the best he can as Michael Morbius. He was not the problem, because of a very shitty script. And the director, the guy, Daniel Esposito, what's the director's name of this? Because he's the guy who directed Espinosa. He's the guy who directed that film Life. There was that sci-fi horror film with Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, where Ryan Reynolds was marketing that trailer, but he dies though. And especially Life, it was at that Hiroyuki Sadano was in that as well. But the thing is, though, it had such a predictable ending where I saw it coming a mile away. Yeah, he directed that film Life. I did not like Life either. There was obviously no life in that movie. But he directed this film. But, yeah, Jared Leto as Michael Morbius, he was doing the best he can. And the other cast, Matt Smith, who plays Milo, is kind of his brother, but is afraid he'd befriended as a kid, but they kind of like sort of like became like best buddies, like brothers instantly when they were kids. Matt Smith, I never watched Doctor Who. I never got into Doctor Who anyway. That was a show that I just never had no interest in whatsoever. I know he was in that show, but the thing is, though, I never got Doctor Who. That's not my that's not my thing at all. But him as playing Milo, he was, I would say, a little bit fun in the movie for me. Yeah, I would say that. For the other cast members, Jared Harris, who I know when he played Professor Moriarty in the sequel to Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows with Robert Downey Jr., he played Professor Moriarty. I thought he was gonna be the bad guy in this because he's known for playing some villains, playing villains in movies, though, right? Which I thought he was a bad guy in this, but turns out he wasn't. I was surprised by it. Oh, he wasn't a bad guy in this movie. But and who else? Oh, Tyrese Gibson. He plays a cop, and I heard the other guy's name who plays his partner. But the film itself is just a bland, generic movie, you know, and for especially for a vampire film as well. But I know the character Michael Morbius especially from Spider-Man. You know, he has a blood disease, right? And he's trying to find a cure for himself, but ends up becoming a vampire. You know, he needs blood. Well, from the '90s cartoons, you know, for the '90s Spider-Man cartoons, he doesn't suck blood because that's too violent for the kids, right? So that's why he has like these suckers on his hands where he sucks the life force out of the people. So, but you can't say that to do that thing with the whole sucking the blood from that's a kid's show. You can't do that though. So that's why he like has these sucker things on his hands. I remember he sucks the life energy out of the people. But yeah, but Michael Morbius, the living vampire. That's what he is. And personally, I know there was I could tell there was a lot of scenes that were cut up because they did reshoots. There was reshoots, and I could tell some things were not in the movie because, like for instance, there was a scene with Tyrese Gibson in the first teaser trailer when it first premiered. There was a scene where Tyrese Gibson, he's with all these other cops are outside, and Tyrese Gibson has like a thing on his arm, like. Because he said they like kind of like was like a mechanical weapon or something on his arm, and when he first see him in the teaser, he has like this thing on his arm, right? That was not in the movie. I didn't see that at all in the movie because that's how to do some reshoots, you know. He said he's in a superhero film, right? So he'd be a superhero. That didn't happen in the movie either. So obviously there was stuff that were due to reshoots. They cut a lot of scenes out of that, which is because I like Tyrese Gibson. And he's not the problem either. He's doing the best he can either. So, but the film again, like I said, it's just a bland, generic movie, you know. And for vampire film, there are plenty of other good vampire movies. Well, especially one particular superhero vampire movie, Blade, prime example. Blade and Blade 2, I highly enjoyed. You know, better than this movie. What was worse, this film or Blade Trinity? That I have no idea. To me, they're in the same boat. I hated Blade Trinity anyway, so I'll stick with Blade and Blade 2. But the thing is, though, vampire hero, you know. Well, Morbius is an anti-hero though, but like Venom. Which, speaking of Venom, you know, from the Tom Hardy ones from Venom, they mention Venom in this movie because it's in the same universe of the Sony universe, right? They mentioned Tyrese Gibson and his cop partner is like, oh, this kind of reminds me that incident that that happened in San Francisco, right? Because that's where Venom was living in is in San Francisco, right? Yeah, it reminds me of that incident that happened in San Francisco. Yeah, there's your nod to Venom there. But anyway, getting back to the story, I'm all over the place, but because Michael Morbius, he has a blood disease. He needs change his blood every day, you know. So he's this brilliant doctor, and he wants to find a cure for himself. So he goes to this place. I forget the place was, and he uses a device, cuts himself, and all the bats drawn to him. And then one leads to another. The whole thing, it does become a success, but the thing is, he gains like strength and mobility. But the thing is, he becomes a vampire himself. He needs blood, you know, like a vampire. Like because he attacks these people on a ship, which there hardly is any action in this one because there's 3 scenes. There's the ship, one in it was in the subway tunnel when he escapes from the police, and then the finale when he fights with Matt Smith. And that's about it, because a lot of it is hardly any action at all, so, just except for those 3 scenes. But getting back to the attacks on the ship, and there was one of the guys on the ship, the crew members, that I recognized. I was like, I recognize this guy. He was in The Mummy, the first Mummy film with Brendan Fraser. He was one of the 3 Americans, that they opened the cursed chest. He was the last American to die, during the whole scene, during the whole car chase in The Mummy, right, and all the people are on the car, right, the last American, he got thrown off the car, and then he tried shooting people until he ran out of bullets, and that was when Imhotep, he tried pleading for his life by giving the last a sacred jar, and that's when Imhotep killed him. Yeah, it's that guy named Corey Johnson, the guy's name was. Yeah, the last American to die in The Mummy. Oh, so he had a small appearance as one of the crew members. Like, oh, I recognize him from The Mummy. But Morbius, Morbius transforms into his vampire. As a vampire, he kills him, and he kills some people on board, and then I forgot how he escaped. I forgot how he escaped. Did he escape from the ship, or did he stay on the ship? Because I think the girl got injured, and she got put in that place. I forget. I forgot most of this movie because I usually have a photographic memory for certain things, but if I had the DVD, I would have it though. I would watch it, but I don't feel like going into watching it again. So I remember the best I could because I remember a whole lot of things from movies, so like almost a photographic memory. But and then when he does eventually, one thing he goes back to the hospital with like his workplace where he did work, And I guess the stuff was on the news, right? But if he goes to this hospital, there shouldn't be a lot of police and security around. I guess not. He just, I think he just walked right in, which is quite funny. It just reminded me in Venom, when Eddie Brock was sneaking into that Drake guy's place. Guess there's no security cameras, because he's just taking pictures and stuff right before the symbiote attaches to him. I mean, in this universe, is there any security or whatever? No, there's not a thing in this. But he tries to fight. He does fight almost like a servant to control his vampirism, and also because Matt Smith is his bro friend, you can say, because but they show them when they just became instant friends back when they were kids, and Michael got picked on because how his capabilities his incapabilities were, And Jared Harris, helped him, and young Matt Smith as well. But then eventually, Tyrese Gibson and his partner, they find him. And it gets a little chase, and when Michael becomes Jared Leto, because he gets with the vampirism, because he gets super strength. He's more fit now because You see him, he was all weak and thin though, but now he's more physically fit and strength. He has echolocation, which he doesn't use the echolocation a lot in this movie. He only uses it when he's learning the stuff about himself. He hasn't hardly used the echolocation that many, only one time when he was learning the things about himself, far I remember. And also he controls the bats and stuff like that, which is something that what Matt Smith, why is he can't control the bats? Because he secretly took the serum himself to cure himself, right? Because he was dying too. Which is quite funny. He becomes he becomes evil instantly when he took the serum, because he purposely left his cane behind, and that's when Jared Leto picked up that he took the serum. And that's because by this time he gets caught and gets put in jail. And there was a joke where the partner brings in holy water, and Tyrese keeps why bring holy water? It's have you seen The Lost Boys? Because you mentioned The Lost Boys, because even in the trailer for the second trailer for Morbius, it plays the song "People Are Strange," a different version of "People Are Strange" from The Doors that was in The Lost Boys. Because hey, People Are Strange, that played at the song at the end of The Lost Boys, and then they mentioned The Lost Boys in this movie. Get it, because vampires. Holy Water Vampires, The Lost Boys. Yeah, I get it. Makes me you're just mentioning a better vampire movie than I'd rather watch this, right? And the thing is, though, before I get the rest, is it the worst movie I've seen this year? No, I've seen a lot worse. I've seen that there's movies I've seen that are a lot worse than I've seen this year. I mean, especially for Marvel, Thor: Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness were a lot worse. Thing is, though, especially with Doctor Strange, they could have been a straightforward horror film, but no, because that's what Scott Derrickson wanted. But no, the Marvel and the other upper, like Kevin Feige and all that, no, they screwed him over. No, and it could have played a whole lot of different ideas with the whole multiverse thing, but no. Thor, and especially with Marvel, especially with Thor: Love and Thunder, it's just a straight out comedy, and Thor never learned anything from the first movie or what his mother told him in Endgame when he traveled back. Right, be the better man that you are. He never learned that. So, in Thor: Love and Thunder, he didn't, and it was just too much of a comedy. That's what all these Marvel films are. They're just comedy movies. They're not probably that serious anymore. When they do be serious, like with Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale, but they cut a lot of his shit out, because serious villain. Oh, okay, who kills gods? No, we need to focus more on comedy than that. That's what those films just piss me off more than Morbius. Yeah, those are a lot worse than Morbius. And people, and one thing I can't really mention, and people were memeing this movie, meme, right? Making fun of the internet, all over the internet, right? The whole thing with it's Morbin time. People think that's funny, that's fine, but the thing is, I never thought that was funny to begin with. Yeah, because you poke fun at a better TV show, it's Morphin Time from Power Rangers, I get it. To me, if you think it's Morbin Time is funny, though, that's fine. To me, that's a shitty joke. That's not even funny to me at all. It's just a flat out shitty joke. Okay, you're pointing out, yeah, you're parodying It's Morphin Time. Whoop-de-doo, it's a shitty joke anyway. But anyway, getting back, he's in jail, but then he escapes. He breaks through the wall, and he escapes the prison, and I guess the girl who's like his supposedly love interest. One thing, my brother, this is why he didn't. Well, I don't know if did he see the movie or because I saw the movie by myself. I don't know. Remember he saw it though, but he said if he wouldn't see it, if Felicia was not in it. If you recall, Felicia from the cartoon, the '90s cartoons of Spider-Man, right? Felicia was the girl that Michael Morbius liked. Felicia. My brother said he wouldn't see it if Felicia was not in it. And sadly she wasn't. Although one thing I will say, one bit of costume accuracy I can say, when Michael Morbius wears the dark trench coats like Morbius did in the '90s cartoon, right? The dark trench coat he wore, like the inner fabric of the dark trench coat he wore is like violet, magenta, purple, right? That's how the same color of the inside of the coat was from the cartoon was. Okay, so there's a little bit of costume accuracy there from the '90s cartoon. Like the inside of his dark trench coat was violet purple, like it was in the cartoons. I'll give you a bit of costume accuracy on that. But when his full vampire form, like the CGI, when he goes like, as a vampire. Could have used like practical makeup, instead of using CG enhancements. Just pointing out. I mean, we've seen plenty like Fright Night. I think my favorite vampire film, Fright Night. With what was her name? Amanda Bierce's character from Fright Night when she was full on vampire with the whole like great awesome makeup effects. Could use something like that for something like that vampire full vampire design like Amanda Bierce was in Fright Night. That was great makeup effects. Couldn't use something like that in Morbius. And then Matt Smith, he kills Jared Harris. Jared Harris, which turns out he wasn't a bad guy in this movie at all, which surprised me. But he kills him, and then he bites. I forget the girl's name. See, that's how forgettable a character she was. And which Michael sucks her blood and leaves, and then later at the end of the movie, then she resurrects because now she's a vampire now. And then they get but there was a fight. Who was chasing him, Matt Smith, in the subway, and the whole him flying. Yes, I will say this: the CGI of him flying through the subway, just the whole effects of him flying like that. It was silly. If people did not like the flying sequence when he flies, I fully understand, because I didn't like the whole flying sequences of him, CG enhancements. It was silly and it was very poorly done. I will say that, though. So when people don't like the movie, that's one of the reasons why I'll give you that. It was very poorly done CG of him flying. Just it looks silly. It just looks silly, just like. It was silly. And then when you get especially when the two him and Matt Smith are fighting each other, when they're flying and fighting each other, it was silly as well. And then Michael summons the bats, why Matt Smith, why he summoned bats too. If he took the same serum and he had basically the same thing that Michael had, and why couldn't he summon bats? And then it gives him the vaccine serum. Gives him the antidote. I'll say that because I'm tired of hearing that word vaccine. I'm sick of death of hearing that word vaccine. Antidote. I'll call it antidote. Gives him the antidote, makes him human again, but then he dies from his wounds. And then Jared Leto flies off, and Tyrese Gibson sees him. Which, by the way, he cut, like I said, all due to reshoots. Probably didn't get that arm, Yeah, so do the reshoots that cut a lot of that stuff out, and Tyrese Gibson, nothing with that mechanical thing on his arm, That's never brought up, and I wanted to see that, He said, Tyrese Gibson said in an interview, he said, hey, I'm in a superhero movie, He never got to do any of that stuff, so sadly. So, and then after that, then you got which was clearly out of the blue, though, but the thing is, though, due to Spider-Man No Way Home, like the sky cracked open, like in Spider-Man No Way Home, right? All of a sudden, Michael Keaton, he appears in another jail. Michael Keaton, Adrian Toomes from the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Which that was another thing of reshoots they did, because also if you recall at the end of the first teaser, right? And it looked like Jared Leto was being escorted because he was in the prison jumpsuit, right? He was being escorted by cops, right? And you see Michael Keaton saying, "Michael Morbius got tired of doing the whole good guy thing, huh? What's up, Doc?" They're both being escorted as prisoners, right? Because it looked and that was not in the movie either. Because, like I said, it was probably due to reshoots, probably, and they cut that part out, Because ever since the first teaser, it's like, why is Michael Keaton there? Because he's the MCU's Vulture, right? So why is he in this? Well, it turns out, which doesn't make sense at all, because how did he get transported to that Sony universe? He was not part of that reality. He didn't return back. So why did he get summoned to that reality? That's not explained. Because last time we saw him, he was in jail talking to Matt Gargan, the Scorpion guy, right? Because he knew who Spider-Man was. So why did he end up getting summoned to that reality of the Sony universe? Not explained. And then he's in another cell. He's like, hoping the food's better. And then on the news says Adrian Toomes, he's released from prison. And then after that, once again, reshoots. Now Michael Morbius, he meets with the Vulture. And two things. Vulture's talking to him, which probably is not Michael Keaton, it's probably his voice, that he's just using his voice, because he's wearing the mask, right? If it's Michael Keaton, why don't you just take off the mask and show that it is Michael Keaton, right? But the thing is, though, probably doesn't like him physically. Probably just using his voice because dubbing, whatever. And number two, he's wearing his full Vulture suit, that he had in Spider-Man: Homecoming. So how did he get his suit? Because that's technology from the Chitauri's, right? He got from Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? How did he get the exact same Vulture suit that he wore in Spider-Man: Homecoming into this universe? Once again, it doesn't even explain it either. It's not like his suit teleported to that universe with Michael Keaton with it. I'm probably putting too much thought into it though, but he's talking to Michael Morbius, and Michael is saying that Michael Keaton I'm referring to. He's talking to Jared Leto, saying that he's all this because he said I'm not fully into this. I'm not fully set in this world yet, knowing what this world is yet though. But he's saying it probably has to do with Spider-Man, and he's saying we're gonna put a team together, and Jared Leto says intriguing, and that's it. But the thing is, why would Jared Leto go along with the Vulture, Michael Keaton? Well, the thing is, he's an anti-hero though, right? So, like with Venom, because he's an anti-hero too. But yeah, so why would he join a group of villains, right? But I like Michael Keaton. Yeah, it was cool to see him again. It was cool to see him again, though. But the thing is, though, his whole appearance at the same time, his appearance didn't make any sense. How did he? I know it's Spider-Man due to Spider-Man: No Way Home, the whole breaking of the reality, though. But how did he? Because he's part of that world, of the MCU world. How did he end up getting transported to that world? And same thing with his suit. How did he get his suit? But the thing is, though, I may sound stressed out, but I'm not fully mad at the movie because I know what it is. It was just a bland, poorly together, bland, generic Marvel vampire movie. I'd rather watch Blade or Blade 2 if I want to watch a vampire hero, comic book hero. Or I watch other better vampire movies, like they mentioned The Lost Boys. I'd rather watch that, or Fright Night, or From Dusk Till Dawn. Better vampire movies in general. But the thing is, though, Doctor Strange 2, Thor: Love and Thunder, there are much worse Marvel movies that came out this year for me. Because those films made me more mad than usual. This year, I was just like, yeah, it's boring, it's bland, it's generic. It is very generic, But like I said, Jared Leto, he's doing the best he can. Matt Smith, same thing. He was doing the best he can too. Jared Harris, wasted, not given nothing to do. And Michael Keaton, it was cool to see him again, but the thing is, though, his whole appearance from the MCU didn't make any sense at all. Yeah, but anyway, is this the worst film I've seen this year? No. Like I said, the MCU movies I've seen are much worse. Doctor Strange, Thor. But to me, the best superhero film this year was The Batman. People did not like that movie. I disagree. I enjoyed The Batman with Robert Pattinson. Other films I did not like this year. Oh yeah, there's two films I rented out this year earlier. Men and X, two shitty films from A24. Tired of their ass, Those are films that came out this year I did not like. I know there's probably a couple more I did not like. I probably reviewed, I just forgot about them. Because they're shitty, so I forgot. I remember the films I did enjoy this year. Yeah, but that film just pissed me off more. This is easily one of the worst ones I've which that's gonna be uploaded after this. So when it's closest to Halloween, So I'll flat out say it right now. Screw that. Halloween ends. That was far worse. Michael Morbius is a master. I mean, this movie Morbius is a masterpiece compared to Halloween Ends. And that's saying a lot for me. Halloween Ends has pissed me off more because just that film had no creativity at all or no imagination at all. That's easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Honestly, I say Morbius was much better than Halloween Ends or X or Men. Yeah, Prey. That's what pissed me off the most. I guess I was so pissed off I forgot about that too. I hated Prey. Now Prey. Prey is the worst movie I've seen this year. Halloween Ends. That's up there though. But like I said, Morbius is definitely not the worst movie I've seen this year. By far, it's not. Prey, Halloween Ends, X. Men, yeah. Don't remember one of the ones. I just want to go through this really quick. See what the films I did not like. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, and but I know I've seen worse though. Well, actually, see, all these ones, these films are so shitty. I keep on forgetting because for good reason. They left my brain, but all of a sudden, boom, one little spark, and it just jogs my memory back. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That came out this year. Jeez. These are reasons why I forget these movies, because they're so shitty. Halloween Ends, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Prey. And all these are horror movies, by the way. X, Men, jeez. 5 shitty straight horror films I hated this year. But Prey is the worst one for me. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween Ends, they're right up there. Like I said, Morbius is the least of these worst movies. So that's why I'm not fully enraged about this movie. It's just a bland, generic movie, Generic, Those movies are far worse. And then the Marvel movies I've seen are worse. The MCU ones I've seen are worse. So, Morbius should be thankful I'm not fully enraged at this movie. Why I'm not fully hating on this movie. Because I know what it is, so... But hey, people disagree with me. People think it's the worst movie I've seen this year. I fully understand, because I did not like the movie at all. But I don't, enraged hate the movie, But yeah, just... But, it's a generic movie. I'd rather watch Blade 2, better movies. Better vampire movies either. But all the things I've said before. And I don't know what I can say. So yeah, Morbius, yeah, it sucks though, yes. But that's why, like I said, when I do full on rants, it's capital rant, capital RANT, that's for full rant. That's for a big rant. This year is just a lowercase, Because I know what it is. Because when I do rants, when I do big rants, that's why it's in full capital letters. But when they're mild rants like this, they're not. This year, I already know what it was. It's already just be a boring, generic movie. That's the thing. But Jared Leto, I can see that. That's another thing. I can see this film getting Razzies. I can easily say this film will get Razzies. Maybe, who knows? But Jared Leto, he's did the best he can. He's not the worst performance this year, but I also say his worst performance is still that shitty Joker in the DC movies. Joaquin Phoenix was much better. But yeah, that's my thing on Morbius. I already explained enough as it is, so. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you for the next video for Halloween month, and we'll see you next time. Later.